There is a hollow in the southern Appalachian Mountains that the United States Forest Service stopped marking on official trail maps after 1991. Not because the land was sold, not because access roads collapsed. The closure report filed that year runs to 38 pages. 31 of them are redacted. A research team from Appalachian State University attempted site access in 2003. Their permit was denied within 48 hours. No reason recorded in public files. We are counting down 6 of the most restricted, most erased, and most deliberately forgotten hollows in these mountains. The list does not lighten. It gets much darker from here. Number 1. Jawbone Hollow, Harlan County, Kentucky. Jawbone Hollow sits along the eastern ridge of Harlan County, Kentucky. It appears on USGS topographic maps printed before 1967. On every edition published after 1972, the hollow's label is absent. The terrain is still there, the contour lines are still there, but the name is gone. The official explanation from the Kentucky Division of Forestry is routine boundary reclassification. Administrative updates happen. Names get dropped. Here is what nobody tells you. In 1969, a geologist named Raymond Cutler filed a formal survey report with the Kentucky Geological Survey documenting unusual soil stratification across the lower half of the hollow. The report was received. A receipt was issued. When a graduate student requested the document in 2014 for a regional geology thesis, the archivist confirmed the receipt existed. The document itself had not been located since 1973. Raymond Cutler retired from fieldwork in 1971, 2 years after filing. He gave one interview to a regional newsletter in 1984. He said the hollow's lower basin had drainage patterns that did not match any natural topography he had encountered in 30 years of surveying Kentucky terrain. The newsletter folded in 1987. Its archives were never digitized. Picture yourself standing at the southern tree line of Jawbone Hollow on a gray November morning. The creek running through the basin moves at the right speed. The leaves are down and the visibility is clear. But the hollow is quiet in a way that has mass. No bird calls. No wind moving through the upper branches. The name is gone from the map. The survey is gone from the archive. The geologist stopped talking. And the hollow sits there, correctly shaped, producing no explanation at all. That is only Cutter's Notch, Smith County, Virginia. Cutter's Notch is a half-mile depression running northeast through the Jefferson National Forest in Smith County, Virginia. The Forest Service closed the notch to recreational access in 1988, citing unstable terrain following a localized collapse event. The collapse is documented. That part is real. Here is what nobody tells you. The collapse event in question was investigated by a structural geologist from Virginia Tech named Dr. Ellen Marsh. Dr. Marsh submitted a 22-page report to the Forest Service in October 1988. The report recommended further acoustic monitoring of the subsurface cavity system she identified beneath the notch's eastern wall. The Forest Service acknowledged receipt of the report. No follow-up monitoring program appears in any publicly available Forest Service records for Jefferson National Forest between 1988 and 2004. Dr. Marsh left Virginia Tech in 1991. She relocated to a research position in New Zealand. In a 2006 email thread later archived by a former colleague, she wrote that she had recommended the monitoring program twice after the initial filing. She received no response either time. She described the subsurface formation she documented as, in her words, geometrically inconsistent with natural cave formation. A FOIA request submitted in 2019 requesting all internal correspondence related to Cutter's Notch between 1988 and 1995 returned 14 pages. 11 were redacted under the deliberative process exemption. Picture yourself at the orange boundary marker at the notch's south entrance on a still July afternoon. The path beyond the marker is faintly visible, not overgrown the way a closed path should be after 36 years. The eastern wall of the notch is in full shadow. The tree canopy above is intact and thick. The silence here is different from the silence elsewhere in the forest. Below the rock, something may or may not be continuing. Dr. Marsh thought it was. She stopped answering questions about it in 2007. That Raven Lick Hollow, McCreary County, Kentucky. Raven Lick Hollow runs south from the Daniel Boone National Forest boundary in McCreary County, Kentucky. It is accessible by foot. There are no official closure signs. There is no listed restriction in any National Forest Management document currently available to the public. And yet, every trail map printed for the Daniel Boone National Forest since 2001 shows the access corridor to Raven Lick as a dead end. The hollow itself is not labeled. Here is what nobody tells you. In September 1998, a botanist named Dr. Thomas Haig documented an anomalous fungal network across a 4-acre section of the hollow's forest floor during a federally funded biodiversity survey. He flagged the finding in his field notes as requiring further classification. His field notes were submitted as part of the survey's final deliverables in January 1999. The Biodiversity Survey's public summary, published in 2000, runs to 84 pages. Dr. Haig's section covers the McCreary County site area. The flagged fungal network finding does not appear in it. Dr. Haig continued working at the University of Kentucky until 2008. He did not publish on the Raven Lick finding. A former graduate student of his, interviewed in an online forum in 2017, stated that Dr. Haig had told his research group the finding had been administratively classified as inconclusive and that he had been asked not to pursue independent publication pending further review. No further review appears in any public record. If these stories are pulling you in the way they pull us in, take a second to hit like. It really helps more people find videos like this one. Picture yourself entering the hollow from the north on a wet April morning. The tree cover closes within 40 yards of the access point. The ground ahead of you is unusually uniform. No leaf scatter, no root exposure, no variation in the undergrowth. The Biodiversity Survey found something here that was never described publicly. Dr. Haig did not describe it. The trail map erased the path. The hollow floor looks like it is waiting for something to come back and finish what it started. That is only number 4. It gets much worse. Number 4. Broken Chimney Run, Tucker County, West Virginia. Broken Chimney Run is a creek drainage in Tucker County, West Virginia, running through a section of the Monongahela National Forest. The Forest Service placed the drainage under a special use restriction in 1994, citing watershed protection. Watershed protections are common. They are usually published with remediation timelines. Here is what nobody tells you. No remediation timeline has ever been published for Broken Chimney Run. A researcher named Carol Pritchett, working for the West Virginia Rivers Coalition, formally requested the remediation plan in 2001 under the Freedom of Information Act. She received a response citing an active internal review. She submitted a follow-up request in 2003. The response cited the same active internal review. In 2009, she submitted a third request. The Forest Service responded that the file had been transferred to a regional administrative office in Atlanta. The Atlanta office, contacted directly, stated it had no record of the transfer. Carol Pritchett published an account of the FOIA exchange in a West Virginia environmental newsletter in 2010. The newsletter's website was taken down in 2013. A cached version of the article existed on a university server until 2018. It has not been located since. The drainage itself has not been reopened. The watershed protection restriction remains active. Its basis is not publicly documented. Picture yourself at the creek's edge inside the restriction boundary on an October afternoon. The water is moving. The color is correct. The banks are intact. Nothing about the physical space explains a restriction that has lasted 30 years without a published reason. The file was transferred. The transfer was not received. The article about the transfer disappeared. The creek keeps moving, and no one official has explained toward what, or away from what, or why it matters. That is, the list does not lighten. Number 5. Stillwater Gap, Rabun County, Georgia. Stillwater Gap sits on the Georgia-North Carolina line at the southern edge of the Nantahala National Forest. It is not marked with a closure sign. It is not on the Nantahala's current trail inventory. It was on the trail inventory published in 1979. It was removed from the 1985 edition. No amendment notice, no public comment period, no administrative record of the removal has been located in publicly available Forest Service planning documents. Here is what nobody tells you. In 1977, a Forest Service ranger named Delbert Angus reported an unusual atmospheric phenomenon over the gap during a routine patrol. A persistent low-frequency vibration, felt rather than heard, that he described in his patrol log as similar to standing near large industrial machinery with no machinery present. His log entry was standard procedure. 2 weeks later, a notation appears in the Nantahala's internal communication record indicating that Ranger Angus's patrol route had been reassigned. He no longer covered the Stillwater Gap sector. Delbert Angus retired from the Forest Service in 1983. He gave one public statement to a local Georgia newspaper in 1991 during an unrelated interview about fire management. He said, without elaboration, that there were places in those mountains he had stopped asking questions about. The interviewer did not follow up. The newspaper's archives for that year are incomplete. The relevant issue has not been found in either the paper's own records or the state library's holdings. Picture yourself at the unmarked gap on a February evening, just before dark. The tree line on both sides is intact. The wind above the ridge is audible. But here, at the gap itself, the air is still. The stillness has a quality that is not weather. Ranger Angus felt something here in 1977 and stopped talking about it 12 years later. The trail was removed from the inventory. The gap does not officially exist as a destination. Number 6. The Unlogged Hollow, no official name, Breathitt County, Kentucky. There is a hollow in Breathitt County, Kentucky, that does not have a name anyone in the county will say out loud. It appears on pre-1940 USGS survey maps as a labeled topographic feature. The label reads, Unnamed Drainage, Survey Incomplete. After 1940, the topographic data for the area was updated. The hollow's physical outline is present in the revised maps. The label is not. It was not renamed. It was undesignated. Here is what nobody tells you. In 1962, a historian named Margaret Tolliver, working through the Kentucky Historical Society, began compiling oral history records from Breathitt County's older residents. Her project recorded 64 interviews. 59 of the transcripts were donated to the Historical Society's archive upon her death in 1979. 5 transcripts are listed in the finding aid. 5 folders are labeled. A graduate student researching the county's settlement history requested them in 2011. The archivist said the folders had been moved off-site for conservation. The student followed up twice. No location for the folders was provided either time. Margaret Tolliver's project notes, held separately, contain a single reference to the unnamed hollow. Her handwriting reads, 3 respondents. Same location. Would not describe. One said, the ground there does not hold still. No Forest Service closure order covers this location. No conservation restriction applies. No posted boundary exists. The hollow is not restricted. It is simply not acknowledged. A local farmer who works the adjacent ridge line, interviewed by a regional journalist in 2016, said that his family had farmed that land for 4 generations. He said they did not walk that hollow. He said that was not a complicated decision. The journalist's piece was submitted to a Kentucky regional magazine. It was not run. Picture yourself at the upper tree line of that hollow on a cold March morning. The ground frozen. The basin below you is visible through the bare trees. The terrain is ordinary, a creek, a slope, unremarkable geography. Nothing moves. The silence is not hostile. It is simply complete. The maps do not name this place. The interviews that named it are missing. The farmer whose family has bordered it for a century does not go there. And the hollow waits in the same silence it has always kept, patient as geography, specific as a held breath. Some places in these mountains were not lost. Some chose to disappear, and they have been careful about it ever since. The Appalachian Mountains run for 2,000 miles. Most of what is in them has been mapped, cataloged, and explained. Most. These 6 hollows represent the remainder, the places where the record stops, the documents move, and the witnesses go quiet. This channel exists to find the places the maps leave blank. Subscribe. There are more.